sweet popcorn. Like,
you would think that's blasphemy in the States because it's all about how much salt and butter. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Jordan Beck.
And I'm Elytra Beck.
And together we are Around the World of Beck, doing some more locals try and experience. But we're not going to be experiencing this because it wouldn't be right to film in this environment. Instead, we're going to be talking about cinemas and what the difference is between the US cinema and the UK cinema, or movie theater, as we would call it.
We are going to be talking about 6 differences between US and UK movie theaters. So starting us off, the establishments themselves. If you are going to be finding one of these places in the US versus the UK, you're going to be looking for different brand names. So in the US, we have Cinemark, AMC, Regal tend to be the really popular ones, or specifically the town we grew up in, Lincoln, Nebraska, Marcus Theaters had a bit of a
monopoly. Yeah, there's basically no other theaters in town, drove up prices, it's a whole thing. But here, there's going to be one main brand, at least from what we've seen. There's going to be Cineworld. There's also View and Odeon, which we haven't seen any of those yet, but we really like Cineworld, the things that they offer. It's interesting comparing the two because with Cineworld, at least with our local theater, is a very traditional theater, and it has just kind of plain seats with the, I don't know, it's a fair amount
they're nice,
of screens available. One thing that Cineworld does that I wish that the States did was they offer a unlimited viewing pass, so you can buy it for an entire year, and if you're an avid moviegoer, you can pay an upfront fee and then go to as many movies as you can, which
we tried to do in January of 2020. Little did we know.
Yeah, then basically no movies came out and the pass was worthless. But, oh well.
It was a good idea though.
Yeah, and another thing too, like with the small town that we were in, almost every movie theater in the town had lounge style like couch reclinings. They were so comfortable.
Back in the States, you mean?
Back in the States, yes. Yeah. I think even some of them had like heat seater capabilities.
Oh, maybe.
I know it was...
They were really... But they had all just gotten redone, too.
Yes, they were all brand new, and they were really nice. It was a big lounge, and you can, like, curl up. And I know that it's probably our region here in the UK that is lacking that, because I have seen in some areas where they have 4D capabilities. There's IMAX as well, but with the 4D I think is really cool. There's like wind and sound, and
which we've never done that.
We haven't, but definitely on my list, and hopefully there'll be a good enough movie to go to that kind of justifies that 4D experience. So,
and we've never been to a really big cinema here in the UK. We've just gone to local ones, several different ones within our area, but I think it'd be interesting if you went to one in, I don't know, like if London would have a bigger cinema versus what we have here. Be curious to see, but whenever we're in London, we're always busy doing other things and going to the movies, so. Yeah. Difference number 2, which kind of continues on just the different names and stuff like that, would be the names of movies. So despite the fact that we all speak English, and this is something that Jordan and I have touched on in a couple other videos, is that despite the fact that we're all speaking the same language, there's so many differences that are it's just so subtle, but it makes a difference. Basically what I'm getting at is that movies will be released under different titles, but it'll be basically the exact same movie. For example, Zootopia came out in the US, whereas Zootropolis is what it was released as in the UK. And it's like, I wonder what what goes into that, or like
do you think during the movie they're changing all of it when they're like, "Oh, welcome to Zootopia"? It's
it must, right? Otherwise, it would
welcome to Zoocropolis. Because, like, I think in, like, for example, the Avengers, I think I heard that here in the UK they call it Avengers Assemble, whereas in the US it's just Avengers. You could technically get away with that. It's like, oh, we're just the Avengers. They don't need to be like, we're the Avengers Assemble. Like, does that make sense?
They don't really have like a roll credits moment.
Yeah, but they do say like, oh, Avengers Assemble. Like, it's a catchphrase. So that kind of makes sense, but...
They don't say that until like...
Well, but I mean, the idea is there. So I wonder if with these title changes, if they're going further.
They have to. Like, I've seen them refilming, like, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone versus Sorcerer's Stone. Like, they refilmed it and saying it both different ways. So that way you could really see, because it came out here as Philosopher's Stone versus Sorcerer's Stone. So, yeah, you can hear, like, the baby actors filming it both ways. So, yeah, they must have to, which it's like, what went, I know the Sorcerer versus Philosopher one, but like Zootropolis versus Zootopia, like what went into that where they were like, no, this isn't gonna work in this place. I don't know. Difference number 3, which also relates to language, is just what you would call different things in relations to going to the movie theater. That's kind of the first point. In the US, we would call it a movie theater versus here, they call it cinema. I would say there are a lot of things from living here for 3 years that my language, my vernacular has kind of switched over to. I don't think I could ever get used to calling it cinema on a regular basis. Like, it just doesn't click with me. It's always going to be a movie theater.
Yeah, and some other words that they have are going to be movie or film. We call it a movie. Here it's called a film.
Or we say we're going to the movies.
Yes. It's going to the film then.
I think you would see a film at the cinema, but we would see a movie at the movies.
All right. It makes us sound a little crazy. And then the other one, the obvious one, it's also used elsewhere, is going to be a line to get food versus a queue to get food or to get into the theater, cinema, however. And as Americans, if you're worried about this sort of thing, you can technically go without ever speaking to anyone. You can reserve your ticket online, similar to that of the States. Go inside, never speak to anyone.
Which is your kind of interaction.
Point number 4 is going to be the rating system for movies or films. In the States, it's a system called MPAA, which ranges from anywhere from G, PG, PG-13, and then R, as well as NC-17. G stands for general audience, and PG, which is parental guidance. PG-13 is usually not for anyone under 13, and then R is going to be where they actually ID people to go into the theater, which I believe is at 17.
17 or 18. It might depend.
Based on state. I know each state's going to have their own law. And then NC-17 is a very rare film, almost never ever shown. So I think with the US's system, it's a little bit broken, and we'll come back to that after the UK's rating.
Yeah, so the UK system is done under BBFC rating. So that's going to be U for universal, PG, same thing Jordan said, parental guidance, 12A, 15, and 18, which seems pretty, cut and clear.
Yeah, I think with that, it kind of divides certain age groups a little bit better. Whereas in the States, you go from PG-13 to 17 or 18 or 19, whatever the adult age is that you can go and view these R-rated movies. PG-13 it's a little bit too much. There might be something in there that
I feel like there's a lot
of
growing that happens between 13 and 18.
Exactly. And then even there are some movies that are even in the PG category to PG-13. And even if you get into the R, I think it's questionable. And that's where I think the UK does a really, really good job of dividing it up into different age groups.
I think so too. Difference number 5 would be clapping. So I would say it's not as common in the US as I think people think that it is. I remember growing up, at least in our small town, it felt like every movie I went to, people would clap at the end of it. And maybe that is just not as common, or maybe we only went to big motion pictures. Nobody is clapping at the end of Inception or something like that. It's not that it's not a good movie, it's just not one of those huge blockbuster things. Avengers, people would clap at the end of that one, or Harry Potter, or the big franchise ones. But here, even if it was the biggest blockbuster ever, I just can't see people clapping. And I tried to find you can see for example, Infinity War or Endgame, when the movie ended, theaters exploding, during certain parts of the movie or at the very end of the movie. And I tried to find some that were specific to the UK, and it's like, no.
I think even some of the humor is a little bit different too. I mean, it's obviously going. Humor. It is, yes. It's obviously going to be different because we're all from all over the world. But it's interesting. I think even in the funny moments that I would think the audience would find funny, it's a very, very quiet, reserved laugh.
Yeah, people
like let's not. Whereas in the theater, the whole theater will laugh and they'll hoot and holler, and it's a collective viewing experience. Let's all go through this movie together. Which
honestly, I kind of miss. I could see a lot of people be really turned away from that, but there's something about being in a theater when something really unexpected happens and hearing the whole audience gasp or cheer or whatever, that like, to me, that is part of the experience of going to the movies versus like, I feel like, yeah, no, I mean, nothing super crazy has come out while we're here. A lot of like Marvel movies, that kind of thing. The audience has all been very like subdued. And then once we've all left the theater lobby, you can hear people start discussing the movie once they're outside. So it's definitely different.
Number 6, and the final point, is my favorite, which is going to be talking about food and snacks. The main differences that you're going to experience, while a lot of them are very similar, in the UK, it's going to be called a snack bar, and in the States, it's going to be a concession stand. In the UK versus the US, the sizes are probably going to be the biggest shocker. In the UK, it's going to be a small bag of popcorn for the large, whereas in the US, a large is a bucket that could probably fit over my head.
Which is saying something.
And you see, yeah. So, and on top of that, you get a free refill of the large popcorn when you buy it.
Yeah. I would say when people talk about, sorry, love. I would say when people talk about like the differences between sizes in the US versus the UK, like movie theater is a pinnacle point showing those differences where I think people go to fast food and I don't even think that's as jarring.
Yeah, that's a good point. The other thing too is like the drinks. Like I think you could take the large, fit it inside of the large and still have more room for the drink compared. Yeah. Apart from that, the other things that you'll notice is that in the UK, they typically serve alcohol. It comes in bottles, sometimes there's taps that you can take into the theater. And in the States, most...
That's like select theaters.
But yeah, I think we had 5 movie theaters in our state. And
in our town.
Yeah, not in our town. And only one of them had like a bar area where you could drink and kind of hang out before the movie, make it an experience. But I don't even know if you were allowed to bring it into the theater.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So it was very interesting. But some other things that are different are going to be that in the UK theater, again, only referencing our smaller one here in the UK, is there's slushies or ices, and what's funny is they'll advertise them as straight from America.
Yeah, they sure do. And let me tell you, they do not taste like they are straight from America.
They probably made them regulated to come in here, not as the preservatives and the sugar. And
they're probably better for you. They don't taste as good though.
So that's one of the things. Obviously the candy is going to be different. I think candy like the Skittles are going to be different. M&Ms, they don't necessarily have that. For example, the chocolate in the UK is all going to be from Cadbury, whereas in the States it's probably all going to be from Hershey or Mars or wherever. Some other ones is that the different snack options are going to be different. I think in our movie theater in the States, again referring to the large one, you had the option of getting pizza. Like you can bring that, the nachos and pretzel bites. And then here at ours, I think they really only have popcorn and nachos, maybe. Again,
it's not as many options for sure.
And it is not necessarily a fair comparison.
They do have ice cream though.
They do have ice cream.
Baskin Robbins at the UK one.
Yes, and I think that's everything.
Yeah, I would say the only other difference, and this is the one I'm saving for last because it blew my mind, and like I still can't get used to it. It's such a small thing, but it's just like my brain can't comprehend, is that when you go to get a popcorn at a UK movie theater, they will ask you if you want it sweet or salty. Sweet popcorn Like,
you would think that's blasphemy in the States because it's all about how much salt and butter. And even in some states they put like lard on it. Like,
no.
Yeah.
I've never seen that.
Yeah. You can put like different types of cheese powders.
Okay, I would take sweet popcorn over lard popcorn.
But surprisingly, I don't think we've had the sweet popcorn.
No, I can't bring myself to do it. And like, I guess it would be like caramelized popcorn or whatever that you get, like caramel corn.
Or do you think it's like a type of sugar on the popcorn?
I'm guessing it's sugar on the popcorn, but I bet it's not that different than like the kettle corn. But I don't particularly like kettle corn, so I don't see myself loving sweet popcorn, but we'll probably have to do it just an experience, round out the whole thing before we depart the UK, because just blows my mind. What a crazy thing. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This was our 6 differences between US and UK movie theaters / cinemas. So we hope that you guys enjoyed. And if you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. We've got more UK content coming your way.
So we'll see you next week.
Bye.